My beloved child, pause for a moment and feel the shift that is happening around you right now. Something has ended, and something far more powerful is beginning. When you read the words, "It's over for you," your heart may have tightened, your breath may have slowed, and your thoughts may have raced in every direction. But listen carefully, what is over is not your love, not your destiny, not your happiness. What is over is confusion. What is over is doubt. What is over is the long season of not knowing. There is an envelope on its way to you, not a physical one you hold in your hands, but a revelation that will arrive at the perfect time. It is called a medical report, but it is not about illness or fear. It is a report of the heart. A confirmation. A truth that has been quietly forming behind the scenes while you were wondering if your soulmate had forgotten you, replaced you, or moved on. Don't skip this moment. Something huge is waiting for you in the understanding of what this report truly means. For a long time, you believed the story was slipping away. You saw distance. You saw silence. You saw unanswered messages and unexplained emotions. You questioned whether the connection you felt was real or just something you imagined because you wanted it so badly. But this report is not about what you imagined. It is about what has been undeniable beneath the surface. It proves that your soulmate's heart has never been free from you. It proves that the bond did not disappear, it only went through a silent transformation. And here is the revelation that will change everything. The report shows that their heart still responds to your name. Not in obsession. Not in chaos. But in recognition. In alignment. In a quiet, steady rhythm that has not been able to erase you no matter how hard they try to distract themselves. Stay till the end, because you need to understand why this matters so deeply. There was a time when they convinced themselves that walking away was strength. They told themselves that detachment was maturity. They tried to build walls out of logic, schedules, and new routines. Yet every time something meaningful happened in their life, good news, a challenge, a random memory, you were the first person who crossed their mind. This report confirms that what they tried to suppress has only grown clearer. It's over for you in one specific way, it's over for the version of you that doubts your worth. It's over for the nights you lay awake wondering if you were ever enough. The arrival of this truth marks the end of insecurity and the beginning of quiet confidence. You were never forgotten. You were never replaced. You were never insignificant in their story. Imagine for a moment what happens when two souls attempt to disconnect while the thread between them is still active. There is discomfort. There is restlessness. There is a subtle pull that refuses to fade. That is what has been happening behind closed doors. While you were focusing on healing, rebuilding, and trying to move forward, they were facing the undeniable reality that their emotional state shifted whenever you were mentioned, remembered, or even silently thought about. This is why the title says it is over for you. Because the waiting game is ending. The uncertainty is ending. The invisible question mark that hovered over your connection is dissolving. In its place comes clarity. In its place comes confirmation. Don't skip this, because the next part is the most surprising. The report does not only reveal their feelings, it reveals timing. There has been a preparation phase happening quietly. Lessons learned separately. Growth happening independently. Emotional maturity developing in places that once held pride or fear. You both have been reshaped by the distance, and that reshaping was necessary. The once-in-a-lifetime revelation is this: the separation was not a rejection. It was calibration. It was alignment in disguise. And now that the alignment is complete, the truth cannot stay hidden much longer. There is a moment approaching where communication will feel different. Not rushed. Not dramatic. Not chaotic. It will feel grounded. Intentional. Clear. When that moment arrives, you will recognize it instantly because it will not carry confusion. It will carry certainty. Something huge is waiting for you in that certainty. You might be wondering, why call it a medical report? Because just like a report reveals the state of a body, this revelation exposes the true condition of the heart. It measures what is alive, what is healing, and what has remained strong despite pressure. And the result is undeniable. The connection is alive. But listen closely. This is not about forcing a reunion. This is not about chasing or demanding. This is about allowing truth to surface naturally. When truth arrives on its own, it carries power. When it is forced, it loses meaning. You have changed. They have changed. And what once felt unstable is now forming a stable foundation. The emotional turbulence has settled into awareness. The confusion has transformed into reflection. The fear has softened into understanding. Stay till the end, because there is something even deeper beneath all of this. The report also reveals something about you. It shows that your heart did not close completely. Even when you tried to convince yourself that you were done, a quiet space remained open. Not desperate. Not needy. Just open. That openness is not weakness. It is strength. It is the ability to love without losing yourself. This next phase will not look like the old one. It will not repeat past mistakes. It will not mirror previous misunderstandings. It will feel new because both of you are no longer who you were. And here is the final whisper for this moment: when clarity arrives, it often feels calm. Not explosive. Not overwhelming. Calm. Do not mistake calmness for lack of passion. Calmness is stability. Calmness is readiness. It's over for you in the most beautiful way. Over for the sleepless wondering. Over for the painful guessing. Over for the belief that the story ended unfinished. The report proves that the story was paused, not erased. As this truth approaches, prepare your heart not with anxiety but with awareness. Notice how your intuition has been nudging you. Notice how certain memories resurface without effort. Notice how your dreams have carried subtle reminders. These are not accidents. They are signals of alignment. Don't skip the unfolding of this chapter. It is delicate, powerful, and intentional. When the message finally arrives, whether through words, a meeting, or an unexpected moment, you will feel the confirmation before you hear the explanation. You will sense the shift before it is spoken aloud. That is how you will know the report was accurate all along. This is only the beginning of the revelation. The full depth of what is being proven will unfold step by step. And as it does, you will realize that what felt like an ending was the quiet construction of something stronger. Hold your heart steady. The clarity is closer than you think. A quiet shift is happening even now, and if you listen closely, you can almost hear the old chapter closing behind you. The phrase still echoes in your mind, "It's over for you." But now you understand it differently. It is over for the uncertainty that kept you small. It is over for the endless questions that circled your thoughts late at night. It is over for the silent battles you fought inside your own heart, wondering whether what you felt was mutual or imagined. The report is still on its way, not as paper, not as numbers, not as clinical facts, but as undeniable emotional clarity. And this part is where the deeper layers begin to unfold. For so long, you thought you were the only one replaying memories. You believed you were the only one who paused when a familiar song played. You assumed you were the only one who felt a sudden heaviness when their name appeared somewhere unexpectedly. But the truth is far more balanced than you realized. Behind closed doors, your soulmate has been going through a silent evaluation of their own heart. They have questioned their decisions. They have reflected on conversations. They have examined moments they once brushed aside. And slowly, without even realizing it, they began to notice a pattern. No matter how far they tried to step, their thoughts circled back to you. Stay till the end, because the most powerful realization is still ahead. The medical report is symbolic for something extremely precise. Just like a detailed examination reveals what is functioning and what needs attention, this emotional examination has revealed the condition of their inner world. And what it shows is not emptiness. It shows attachment. It shows unfinished connection. It shows emotional resonance that never fully dissolved. There were days when they convinced themselves they were fine. They told friends they had moved on. They filled their schedule with distractions. They focused on growth, work, responsibilities, and daily routines. But there was always a quiet space, an unspoken pause, whenever your memory surfaced. That pause was not weakness. It was recognition. And recognition cannot be forced away. Something huge is waiting for you in this understanding, because once you realize that your absence created awareness rather than indifference, your perspective changes completely. You were not replaced. You were reflected upon. The distance did something powerful. It removed noise. It removed ego-driven reactions. It removed impulsive words spoken in emotion. What remained after the dust settled was the core truth of the connection. And the core truth did not disappear. This is where the report becomes undeniable. Their emotional state shifted over time. What once felt like certainty about walking away slowly transformed into doubt. What once felt like relief slowly turned into curiosity. And what once felt like finality began to feel unfinished. You may not have seen it. You may not have heard it. But internally, a process was unfolding. Don't skip this moment, because you are about to understand something that will bring deep peace. The separation forced both of you into growth. You were pushed to rediscover yourself outside of the connection. You were encouraged to rebuild your confidence. You learned to stand on your own without waiting for validation. And while you were doing that, they were learning something equally important. They were learning what life feels like without your presence. That lesson was not simple. It was not dramatic. It was subtle. It showed up in quiet evenings. In ordinary days. In moments where something felt slightly incomplete without a clear reason why. And slowly, realization began to settle in. The emotional report shows that your soulmate's heart still responds to you in a way that cannot be duplicated by anyone else. Not because you are perfect. Not because you are flawless. But because the frequency of your connection was unique. You shared understanding that did not require explanation. You shared comfort that did not require performance. You shared silence that did not feel empty. That kind of connection leaves an imprint. Stay with this, because there is a turning point approaching. At some point, they stopped asking, "Why did this end?" and started asking, "What if this was not meant to end?" That subtle shift in questioning changed everything. Instead of defending their decision, they began analyzing it. Instead of avoiding thoughts about you, they allowed themselves to feel them. And once feeling is allowed, clarity begins. This is why the title says the report is proving something. It is proving that what you felt was not one-sided. It is proving that the emotional depth you carried was mirrored, even if it was expressed differently. It is proving that timing, not lack of love, created the distance. And timing can change. The most surprising revelation is this: your soulmate has been quietly preparing themselves for a different version of connection. A calmer version. A more grounded version. A version where communication replaces assumption and understanding replaces pride. You might not see it yet, but there is a softening happening. Where there was once resistance, there is now reflection. Where there was once avoidance, there is now acknowledgement. Where there was once silence, there is now intention building beneath the surface. Something huge is waiting for you in that intention. But here is the part you must truly absorb: this is not about rushing back into the past. It is about approaching the future with awareness. The old patterns cannot survive in this new phase. They were exposed during the separation. They were understood. They were examined. And growth came from that examination. Your role in this story is not to chase. It is not to force communication. It is not to demand answers. Your role is to remain steady. Because when someone is in the process of recognizing what they almost lost, pressure only creates confusion. Calmness creates clarity. The report also reveals something powerful about you. You did not break. Yes, you felt hurt. Yes, you questioned your worth. Yes, you had moments of doubt. But you did not close your heart entirely. You chose healing over bitterness. You chose growth over resentment. And that choice shifted the energy of this entire connection. Stay till the end, because this is where everything aligns. The universe does not reward desperation. It responds to alignment. And alignment is what has been quietly forming between you both. Separate lessons. Separate realizations. Separate journeys. All leading back to a clearer understanding of what this connection truly means. The medical report is not about fear. It is about confirmation. It confirms that their emotional pulse still changes when you are near. It confirms that your name still carries weight. It confirms that your absence was felt more deeply than they expected. And once someone realizes that, they cannot ignore it forever. There is a moment approaching where truth will surface in a simple, natural way. It may not be dramatic. It may not be cinematic in the way you imagine. But it will feel sincere. And sincerity is far more powerful than intensity. When that moment comes, you will notice something different in their voice. There will be less defensiveness. Less uncertainty. More presence. More intention. And you will realize that the report was accurate all along. Don't skip this unfolding. It is delicate. Because the most profound part of this entire revelation is not that they still feel for you. It is that they now understand why. Understanding transforms emotion into commitment. And commitment is built on clarity. You are stepping into a phase where you no longer need proof. Because proof is already being prepared. Not in the form of documents, but in actions. Not in dramatic declarations, but in consistent effort. This is the once-in-a-lifetime shift you have been waiting for, not because it is rare, but because you have never experienced it in this mature form before. The connection is not returning as it was. It is returning evolved. It is returning steadier. It is returning conscious. And as you continue to hold your ground with grace, you will feel the shift more strongly each day. It's over for you in the most beautiful way possible. Over for insecurity. Over for emotional chaos. Over for wondering if you mattered. The report proves that you did. You do. And you will. The next part of this story carries an even deeper revelation, one that will explain why the timing is unfolding exactly as it is, and why this phase feels different from anything you have experienced before. Stay open. Stay calm. Something huge is still waiting for you. There is a moment in every love story when silence speaks louder than words, and this is that moment for you. You have already felt the shift. You have sensed that something unseen is rearranging itself behind the scenes. The emotional report we have been talking about is no longer just a symbol, it is becoming a lived experience. It is moving from mystery into manifestation, from hidden truth into visible clarity. But before the revelation fully arrives, you must understand what has truly been happening. During the distance, something profound occurred inside your soulmate's heart. At first, they framed the separation as necessary. They told themselves it was practical, logical, even wise. They leaned into independence. They focused on progress. They tried to convince themselves that detachment meant growth. Yet growth has a strange way of revealing truth rather than hiding it. As they evolved, as they matured, as they healed parts of themselves they once ignored, they began to see the connection differently. Not through the lens of ego. Not through the lens of pride. But through clarity. And clarity does not lie. Stay with this, because what comes next is the turning point. They started noticing that their happiest memories carried your presence. They began recognizing that their sense of emotional safety was strongest when you were near. They realized that the conversations they valued most were the ones where they could be fully themselves, with you. This recognition was not instant. It unfolded slowly, like light creeping into a dark room. At first, it was subtle. Then it became undeniable. The medical report of their heart revealed something they could no longer ignore. The connection was not a phase. It was foundational. Something huge is waiting for you in that realization. You see, when someone tries to move forward without resolving what they truly feel, life gently pushes them into reflection. They encounter situations that remind them of what they once had. They meet people who highlight what was missing. They face moments that trigger comparison, not out of longing, but out of awareness. And every comparison quietly led back to you. Not because you are flawless. Not because you were perfect. But because the emotional compatibility between you was rare. It was authentic. It was effortless in ways that cannot be recreated artificially. Don't skip this part, because it holds the key to everything. Your soulmate has begun questioning their own choices, not from regret, but from awakening. They are seeing that what they once labeled as timing issues were actually personal growth gaps. They are realizing that what felt overwhelming then would feel manageable now because they are no longer the same person. Growth has reshaped them. The insecurities that once caused distance have softened. The fears that once created hesitation have been examined. The pride that once blocked communication has been humbled by reflection. And reflection changes behavior. This is why the report is so powerful. It does not just prove feelings. It proves readiness. There is a difference between loving someone and being ready to show up for them fully. Before, the love existed, but the readiness was incomplete. Now, something inside them is aligning. Responsibility feels less threatening. Vulnerability feels less risky. Commitment feels less overwhelming. Stay till the end, because this alignment is the breakthrough. Meanwhile, you have been transforming as well. You learned to find peace within yourself. You stopped begging for reassurance. You stopped chasing clarity. You allowed space to teach you patience. You discovered that your worth does not fluctuate based on someone else's behavior. That inner shift changed your energy completely. When you stopped reaching, something began moving toward you. The connection is no longer operating from imbalance. It is no longer driven by urgency or fear of loss. It is moving into equilibrium. And equilibrium is powerful. There is something else the report reveals, something deeply personal. Your soulmate has been quietly acknowledging the emotional impact you had on their life. They have replayed conversations in their mind. They have revisited moments they once overlooked. They have recognized the stability you brought, the understanding you offered, the support you provided without condition. And here is the surprising truth: they now see your strength more clearly in your absence than they did in your presence. Absence can sharpen appreciation. When you are no longer readily available, your value becomes undeniable. Not because you withdrew out of anger, but because you respected yourself enough to stop overextending. That self-respect changed everything. Something huge is waiting for you in the form of acknowledgement. Acknowledgement is the first step toward reconnection. You may not hear it immediately. You may not see dramatic gestures. But internally, a shift is solidifying. They are no longer asking whether they miss you. They are asking how they allowed distance to grow in the first place. And that question is transformative. When someone reaches that level of introspection, change follows naturally. Don't skip this unfolding, because the next phase requires patience. The emotional report also shows that timing is no longer an obstacle. The circumstances that once complicated things are gradually resolving. The distractions that once pulled attention away are losing significance. Priorities are rearranging. And you are rising higher on that list. Not because you demanded it. Not because you insisted. But because truth surfaced on its own. There will come a moment soon, unexpected yet perfectly timed, when communication feels inevitable. It will not feel forced. It will not feel awkward. It will feel like something that was meant to happen all along. When that moment arrives, you will notice the difference instantly. There will be depth in their tone. There will be sincerity in their words. There will be clarity where confusion once existed. The report will no longer be symbolic, it will be visible. Stay steady. Because here is the deeper revelation: this connection was never meant to be a lesson in loss. It was meant to be a lesson in evolution. Both of you needed the separation to refine yourselves. Both of you needed distance to understand value. Both of you needed silence to hear your own hearts more clearly. Now that refinement is complete. And what returns after refinement is stronger than what existed before. It's over for you in the most empowering way possible. Over for doubting your intuition. Over for questioning whether the bond was real. Over for believing you were too much or not enough. The report confirms balance. Balance between emotion and logic. Balance between desire and patience. Balance between love and self-respect. Something huge is waiting for you, not in fantasy, but in reality. A grounded, mature, conscious connection that feels safe rather than uncertain. But there is one final truth in this part that you must hold close. Even with confirmation, even with clarity, even with readiness, you must remain anchored in yourself. The reunion, if it unfolds, should enhance your life, not define it. The love should complement your growth, not replace it. And that is exactly why this phase feels different. Because you no longer need it to survive. You simply welcome it if it aligns. That shift in perspective is magnetic. Stay till the end of this journey, because the next revelation will dive even deeper into what this alignment means for the future, and why the timing now feels almost orchestrated. The report is not just proving that your soulmate still feels for you. It is proving that both of you are finally prepared to meet each other at the same emotional level. And when two souls meet at the same level of awareness, something extraordinary begins.